Okay, so let us start with our topics. The PPT is visible. Is the PPT
Yes,
visible?
ma'am.
Okay, fine. Right. So what did we discuss in the last class? Hmm? What did we discuss in the last class? No one remembers anything. Hmm? So we had discussed about the knowledge discovery process. Then we had started looking at the multidimensional view of data, right? So what was that multidimensional view of data mining all about? Hmm? I told you that real world data is something which is multidimensional. Do you remember seeing the cube like structure? Hmm? So I told you the real world data is something multidimensional. Okay, so a data cube is something which is used to store this multidimensional data. Okay, so in a data warehouse, data cube in a data warehouse is basically a multidimensional structure which is used to store the data. Okay, and this data cube will enable you to view your data in multiple dimensions. Okay, so actually this data cube is being created or constructed from a subset of the data whatever is available in your data warehouse, and generally it represents the aggregated data. You can see here. So this is the time. Aggregate is shown, quarter is shown. Quarter is 4 months. Okay, so aggregate of data is being shown. Okay, then I had shown you the two-dimensional and three-dimensional view of sales data pertaining to, say, let's say the ABC electronics company or ABC organization. So these were the relational schema or tables which has been planned for this ABC electronics. Okay, so you can see here the customer table or the customer relation. Customer relation, these are the attributes for this customer relation. Customer ID, name, age, occupation, annual income, credit information. So these are the attributes for customer. Same way, item table, employee table, branch table, purchases, item sold, works at. Okay, so how does this table look like? Table or a relation, how does it look like? I had already told you it looks like the form of a matrix with rows and columns. Okay, so this is the customer table. Let's say this is the customer table. Okay, so what are these? Customer ID, name, occupation, annual income, credit information, category. What are these called?
Attributes or
Ah,
fields.
very good. Attributes or fields. Okay. So what about this? 1, 2, 3, Jack, 22. So this is the record, the rows or records. The first record belongs to Jack. The second record belongs to Jill. Okay. So this is how the data is being stored in the table, or it is also called a relation schema. Okay. Then how do you extract the information which is being stored in this table? How do you extract the information? Hmm? How do you extract the
Using
information?
query languages.
Yeah, using relational queries. Okay, so you can write a query in order to find out who are the people who are in the the names of the list, the names of the customers who are in safe category, whether they are safe enough to give them a loan or not, whether they have previously taken a loan or not. If they don't have a loan, what is the annual income? So based on all those things, the customer will be categorized as a safe category or a risky category. Risky category means he's a regular, loan defaulter, so he cannot be considered as a safe customer, and he cannot be he cannot be guaranteed to repay his loan back. So he could be a risky customer. Okay, so you can find out, you can query the database in order to find out who are the risky customers belonging to the risky category or safe category, or who are the people who are having an annual income above 4 lakhs or above 50,000 or whatever. Okay, so you use query languages for querying your database. Okay, so when you're mining your relational databases, especially when you're mining your relational databases, okay, so you can even go for searching trends in the data pattern. So trends can be found out. For example, for a particular item. What was the sales last year? If the particular item had very good sales, and in this particular year, the sales is down. Items with the poor sales, a comparative study can be done. Okay, then what is the reason for the deviation or the poor sales? Okay, so that can be further investigated. Okay, so the data mining can be used to discover if there has been a change. Why there is a change in the sales? Is it due to some reason? Have they raised the price for the particular product? Or, for example, they have not changed the price for the product, still the sales is poor when compared to previous years. So there could be some other reason. For example, it could be that previously it had a very attractive packing. So now it doesn't have a not so good looking packing. So which matters for certain customers. So, or there could be a significant increase in the price. So these could be the reasons why there is a decrease in the sales. Okay, so that's what you can find out from by querying your relational databases. Okay, then of course, okay, so when you're saying data mining, we were looking into this particular slide, like on what kind of data are you performing data mining? Okay, so we do it on relational databases. Then we do it on data warehouse. What is a data warehouse? Data warehouse. Okay, I told you, for example, your ABC company, it has got different branches. Maybe one could be in Chicago, another could be in New York, third one could be in Toronto, fourth could be in Vancouver. So they have different branches around the world. Okay, so each branch will be having its own separate databases. Okay, so if you are asked to provide an analysis of the companies, for example, the sales per item, per branch for a particular quarter. Okay, so that is a difficult task because all these branches are having different databases. Okay, so or different data sources, you can say. Chicago branch may be maintaining their own database and a particular data source. Same way the New York branch or the Toronto branch. So in which case, when you have heterogeneous databases spread in different parts of the world or in different locations, okay, so in such a case, ABC Electronics or this particular company can maintain what is called a data warehouse. Okay, so data warehouse. So the data to this particular data warehouse will be flowing from all these heterogeneous data sources of that one particular company. Okay, so the data gets cleaned. Last class, I told you about data pre-processing, wherein the data gets cleaned, integrated, transformed, then it gets loaded to the data warehouse and it gets periodically refreshed. Okay, so and out here in the data warehouse, so all these data, you can say it is a repository of information which is collected from multiple sources. Okay, so they're all unified and it will be residing in a single site or the so-called data warehouse. Okay, so this data warehouse is being constructed through the process of your data cleaning, data integration, data transformation. That is nothing but all your pre-processing, mining, and post-processing activities, your loading and refreshing. So all these form a part of your what is called your data warehouse. And the point to be noted is this data warehouse will be having historical data. Historical data in the sense it could be 6 months data, past 6 months data, or it could be 12 months data, but then it will be typically in a summarized form. Okay, so the data will be in a summarized form. What do you mean by data being in a summarized form? What do you mean by data getting stored in a summarized form? That is how the data is being stored in the data warehouse, the historical data. So what I mean to say is, for example, rather than storing the details of each, let's say, sales transaction, so the data warehouse will be maintaining a summary of the transaction for each item for a particular store. Okay, so and that even can be summarized to a higher level, maybe for a particular sales region, say Northeastern Territory or Northwestern Territory or whatever. Okay, so it could be the summary of transactions for each item, for each store in ABC Electronics. That is a summarized data. Okay, so you can always aggregate it to some transaction summary. Okay, so that's what I mean to say. Okay, then you can, of course, you can use your query and analysis tool and make it available to the clients or the end users by making use of some visualization tools. Okay, so this is what happens in a data warehouse. So this is actually the framework for a typical data warehouse. You can see the data is coming from different data sources, gets stored here. Then you can make use of query and analysis tools and provide the appropriate information to the client or to the end user. Okay, so now that's regarding your data warehouse. So this is what I just told you. Okay, what are the different kinds of data on which we are performing the act of data mining? That's what we are looking into. Next is transactional database. What is this transactional database? Transactional database. All are sleeping in the class. What is transactional database? Likita, what is transactional database? Likita is awake?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but you don't know what is transactional database. Okay, who can tell me what is a transactional database? All of you go to the supermarket and all, right? At least before Corona. What are the transactions that you do? Okay, the transaction database is something which captures the transactions being done. Let's say, for example, a sales transaction. For example, the purchase made by a customer. Okay, so when you say purchase made by the customer in a supermarket, you can visualize it as a table, a customer table with what could be the fields in that. It could be transaction ID or the list of items, then how much quantity you have bought. Then again, additionally, you can have things like the item description, or the name of the salesperson who has done the billing for you, all these things. So that's what is transactional database. Okay, so data to the data warehouse can also be coming from a transactional database. Okay, it will be getting stored there. Okay, so that's what we mean by telling that data warehouse is getting periodically refreshed. Did I show you in the diagram? It's showing here, no? It's refreshing. So these data sources can be from OLTP systems, online transaction processing systems also. Okay, from transactional databases. Data will be coming and it will be getting stored in the data warehouse. Okay, right. So next set of data on which we can do the data mining. Okay, then of course we have our data streams and sensor data. Data is coming out of all your IoT devices, sensor data. Then time series, temporal data, sequence data, all the biosequences. Okay, or spatio-temporal data. Spatio-temporal data. What is this? Temporal data, spatial data, and spatio-temporal data. Temporal means it will always have a timestamp associated with it. Maybe let's say the banking transaction data, which keeps changing from time to time. For example, in bank, a lot of transactions happens. Customer may be crediting, debiting. So, the content of your database keeps changing from time to time. So all these contents are generally stored as snapshots at various points of time. Okay, so let's say the banking transaction history or the customer data, the banking table. What is the account balance at 10 o'clock? So maybe the customer has deposited 1,000 rupees. So the balance could be 1,000. Then at 10:30, he has withdrawn 500 rupees. So at 10:30, the contents will be 500. Then again, he has deposited or done some other online purchases. So the contents keep changing. Okay, so they're all being stored as snapshots with time stamping at various points of time. Then what about spatial data? Spatial data. For example, all the data which comes as a part of your GIS, Geographic Information System, your road map, or your remote sensing or a GPS data, the navigational data sets, they all become a part of your what is called your spatial data. Okay, spatial data. Okay, so some you can say some weather pattern. So that can also be a part of this weather pattern or something involved in predicting your earthquake. Okay, so all these things. Okay, they're all spatio-temporal data. You can call it a spatio-temporal data. What about multimedia databases? Multimedia databases. Okay, so you have all your graphics, sketches, drawings, images, animations, audio, video, everything which is coming as a part of your multimedia data. That's all what is called your multimedia data. Okay, so then of course text databases and your www, World Wide Web. Then of course you have your social networks, graph data. Yeah, graph data, and object relational databases with object orientation. So these are all the different kinds of data, advanced data sets, and advanced applications for data mining. What are all the different types of data on which you can do the data mining? Okay, then, so moving on to the next slide. Okay, so next coming to what are the different patterns that can be mined. Okay, different patterns that can be mined. Okay, so now for that we need to look at what are the various data mining functionalities. We have 5 different data mining functionalities, so which we should look into to understand what are the different patterns that could be mined out. Are you all listening or sleeping after a good lunch? Listening?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Pranav is listening, Anirudh listening, Nishok listening. Remaining all sleeping. Srimati is sleeping?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. Thank you, Srimati. Yash?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Right. Okay. So let's start with the various data mining functionalities. Okay. So right now we'll just have a brief about all these functionalities. Okay. So the important functionalities will be covered in detail in the various units. For example, your classification, when we discuss, that is also one data mining functionality. So that will be discussed in the 3rd unit, clustering in the 4th unit, association analysis in the 2nd unit. So this is a generalized concept. Okay, so I mean, yeah. So the data mining functionalities will be covered in detail. Okay, so now let's have a basic understanding regarding what are these. The first one is what is called generalization. What is generalization? In other words, you can say summarization. Summarizing the data. Okay, summarizing the data, let's say by replacing certain attributes with some higher level concepts. You can say, and all these forms are part of what is called your descriptive data mining. So you have 2 types of data mining. One is what is called your descriptive data mining. Another one is what is called your predictive data mining. Okay, so this comes, I mean, your generalization. Generalization comes as a part of your descriptive data mining. Okay, so summarization and generalization. For example, let's take a sales database. I'm giving you an example for a generalization, sales database. Okay, so sales database could have something called an item relation. When I say relation, it's nothing but a table. Table with rows and columns. I had already given you, showed you how it looks like. Okay, so let's say we have a item table. Okay, so item table is having, item ID, the name, the brand, the category, then the place of manufacture, and several other informations. Okay, so maybe we can, I mean, when it comes to a summarization, so you can summarize. Let's say we are talking about item relation, right? So we can summarize a large set of items, whatever is relating to, let's say, Christmas season. Okay, so during the Christmas season, what are the items? So that can be summarized. Okay, so that could be summarized. So you're summarizing a set of items, or you can say large items related to Christmas season and Christmas sales. Okay, so this will provide a general description of such data. Okay, so why we are doing this is that will help the sales and the marketing managers to give some promotional strategies or to adopt some promotional strategies and thereby make better profit in the Christmas season. Okay, so all these come under the category of what is called a data generalization. Okay, actually it is not as simple as I say. There are various techniques regarding how we do this generalization. Okay, so one particular approach is what is called the data cube approach, which we call it as OLAP, online analytical processing, about which we will discuss later. And then second one, we have what is called the attribute oriented induction. Okay, wherein we try to remove the attributes which are not so useful, and attribute generalization also is being done. Okay, so these are the various techniques for generalization. Okay, so as of now, you just keep in mind that generalization is nothing but summarization, and all these techniques are for a business purpose. Okay, So that's regarding the first one, generalization. It's mentioned here, the data cube technology is there. So this is one type of generalization. Another one is what is called the attribute oriented induction. So this data cube technology is what is called an OLAP, online analytical processing. Okay, so online analytical processing, just like you have OLTP, online transaction processing, you have online analytical processing. Okay, so wherein you take into consideration all the multi-dimensional concept descriptions like characterization and discrimination, and you try to generalize and summarize the data. Okay, fine. So the next data mining functionality is what is called your association. Association and correlation analysis. Do you have the habit of noting down certain things when I'm taking the class? Does anybody have the habit of taking down something? At least the headings and other things?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Only Anirudh is doing all these things, sir?
Ma'am, it's Aviral, not Anirudh.
Oh my. Okay. Who's it?
Aviral.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Because in my right hand side of the window, I can see only 3 people: Anirudh, Nishok, and Likita. That's why I asked. Okay. So I want all of you to at least dedicate one part of your notebook to write. I'm not giving any notes. I'm not asking you to write detailed notes for data mining. At least on a regular basis, daily basis, put today's date and today what ma'am has done in class. Just the headings, headings alone. After 1 unit, I'll ask you for a submission just to see how many of you are doing what is being done in the class. Okay, so rather than simply sitting in front of the system and listening to something, so it will be more better if you note down the headings in the class. If you can note down much more than that, well and good, but I insist at least the headings should be there in the notebook. Okay, at the end of the first unit, I'll be asking for a submission in GCR. Okay, so now coming to the second data mining function. The first one was generalization. Second one is nothing but association and correlation analysis. Association. What is association in data mining? Any idea? Association. The word meaning tells us something. Association. Okay, you can say this association analysis will help you to identify the affinity to each other. I think I had already given an example, affinity. Okay, so maybe it is frequently used to analyze the transactional data. Transactional data, very good example, is supermarket data. Or, I mean, all these come under what is called your market basket analysis. Okay, in detail you'll be learning in the second unit. Okay, so what this market basket analysis does is, or why do we do this market basket analysis, is basically to identify the items that appear together in transactions. Okay, so it's basically for this association analysis is basically for identifying associated events or dependent events. Okay. Okay, so for example, when customers go to shop, because in a supermarket there could be a lot of things. Okay, tea, coffee, milk, sugar. So, and the customer will be buying a subset of all these items. Okay, so we can look into those data, or market can get information regarding which are the items the customers are purchasing together. Okay, so once you analyze such an information, so that information can be used, and then that can even be used for putting the items together. For example, if bread and butter is being brought together by the customers, then you can place bread and butter together or nearby in in the supermarket. Or if tea, coffee, milk and sugar are being frequently bought together, then those items can be kept together in the supermarket. Okay, so location. So you can identify what is the perfect location where the items can be placed inside the store. Okay, accordingly it can be placed. Then, for example, if a customer buys a coffee, there are chances that the customer may buy a milk or sugar along with the coffee. Okay, so these kind of small but simple strategies will help, like by placing the items together. Then all these things can improve the sales of the company. Okay, so keeping the items next to each other, so the customer will buy these items and then they thereby improve the sales. Okay, then So you can see this is an example what I gave you, but then in the slide you can see another example being given here. This is actually a very popular example. This is actually, a fictitious example. If you open your data mining textbooks, you see this particular example, diaper and beer example. Okay, so it's a fictional example. So what they say, what it says is the men who go to the store to buy diapers are also likely to buy a beer, and it has got a support of 0.5% and it's got a confidence of 75%. And what this support is, what this confidence is, how do you calculate this, what is the definition for it, all those things in detail we learn in the second unit. Okay, so these are the measures of interestingness as far as a pattern is concerned. So what it shows is the people who buy diaper also buy beer, and it's got a support and a confidence of 0.5 and 75% respectively. Okay, so whether they are strongly associated items or they have a strong correlation. So all these things. Okay, so that will give the frequency at which both these items occur in the same shopping basket or whatever. Okay, so how to mine these sort of patterns and rules in very large data sets. Okay, so we are not telling about data sets which have 5 or 10 records. We are all dealing with data sets which have millions of records, VLDBs, very large databases. Okay, so how to use such patterns for classifying certain things, or clustering, grouping, or for other applications. Okay, so that forms the study of what is called your association and correlation analysis, which is a very important functionality. So in the unit 2 of your syllabus, we will be discussing about association, market basket analysis, what are the various algorithms which is being used for frequent pattern mining. We have a number of algorithms like a priori algorithm, frequent pattern growth algorithm, and so many algorithms are there. So we'll discuss all those things in detail. So that time I'll teach you what does this stands for and how do we calculate this. Okay, so we'll work out the algorithm there. So that was the second data mining functionality. Okay, so the third one is what is called your classification. Classification. Okay, so any idea what is a classification? Classification.
I'm classifying something in a particular order.
Yeah, classifying something in a particular order, or into different classes. Okay, so before we discuss about classification, you should understand there are two different types of variables. Okay, so one is what is called the continuous variable, and another one is what is called the categorical variable. Okay, so continuous variable, I've given examples here. Okay, so for example, age, height of a person, weight of a person, price. So these are all infinite number of values, whereas categorical, finite categories or classes. For example, gender can either be male, female, or transgender. More than we don't have a fourth gender out here. Okay, then age group, we can young age or teenage or adolescence or middle age or old age. We have limited, or the presence or absence of something. Okay, so that's all coming under what is called categorical variable. Okay, so these are the two different types of variables. Okay, so that I just wanted to tell that before we start with the classification, because we keep telling about continuous variables and discrete variables. So what it means? Okay, so classification. So as somebody said, classifying. So for example, before you start with a project, we want to check its feasibility. Okay, whether it is a safe project, and we want to classify it as a safe project or a risky project. Okay, so that we can adopt strategies accordingly. Okay, so that is basically a classification. Okay, so or a bank before giving the loan to its customer, it wants to check whether the customer is he is a safe credit or a risky credit. Okay, so they will analyze a lot of factors like the age of the customer, his annual income, whether he has taken loan previously, whether he is paying the loan on time, all the EMIs are being paid on time, whether, I mean, all those things are analyzed, and based on that, you take a decision. Okay, so that's another example. Or classify the countries based on the climate, classify the cars based on the mileage of the car. Okay, so all these aspects come as a part of your classification. Classification. What could be another example for a classification? Or the company's marketing manager wants to analyze the customers. I mean, who are the people who keep changing their mobile phones, or who keep buying a laptop, analyzing the customers so that they can be targeted. Okay, so when you say a classification, okay, so the classification model, okay, so the classification model, there are many classification techniques available, and classification model can be represented in various forms. Okay, so we can represent the classification model as some sort of rules. It can be if then rules. Okay, if he's a youth and he's got high income, then he belongs to class A. Then if he's a youth and income is low, he belongs to class B. So this classification model, I mean, it can be represented either as a rule, if then a rule, or it can be represented in the form of, this is what is called a decision tree. Okay, later when we discuss the classification, I mean the particular unit, we'll be learning about various decision tree algorithms also, like CART, ID3, there are a number of algorithms. Okay, so this is the classification model being represented as a decision tree. Okay, so this decision tree also will help you to get some information. If the age is youth and income is high, class A. Age is youth, income is low, class B. Age is middle-aged or senior, means class C. Okay, so this is another way of representing the, your classification model. Okay, of course, you can represent it as also as a neural network. Okay, neural network can also be used to represent the classification. Okay, so classification is nothing but you are categorizing the feature vector into 2 or more classes. Okay, you can see this is a binary classification. It either is a red color X mark, or it is another sample. Okay, so multi-class classification. You can see how it is being classified. So these are the various classification technique. Okay, so those who take up machine learning will be learning about all these things. Of course, you have it in your AI, artificial intelligence subject also, which will be coming up in the higher semesters. So wherein we'll be discussing about the various classification techniques. Of course, as a part of data mining also, you'll be learning few. Okay, so these are regression, your artificial neural networks, support vector machines, deep neural networks, convolutional neural networks. All these are classification techniques. Okay, so these are the various methods. Okay, for why isn't it? Okay, so these are the typical methods for classification. Okay, so you have your decision trees, what I just showed you, the Naive Bayesian classification, support vector machines, or neural networks, or it could be a rule-based classification, what I just showed you, if-then rules, or a pattern-based classification, or a logistic regression. Okay, so there are n number of applications also for it. Okay, so n number of applications. I mean, it can be used for credit card fraud detection, or for direct marketing, or for classifying something, diseases, or web pages, and n number of applications. Okay, so there is when we say classification. Okay, so there is one more related concept associated with your classification. So that is what is called your regression analysis. Okay, so you can see here it's mentioned here, regression, regression analysis. So regression is actually for numerical prediction. Numerical prediction is what is called regression. Okay, so all these comes under whatever I just told you, classification and regression. Okay, so regression is for numerical data. Okay, so this come under the a topic called supervised learning. In machine learning, we call it as supervised learning. Okay, so there's an example given difference between a classification and regression. Okay, so a classification problem is when the output variable is a category, such as red or blue, or the disease or no disease. Okay, so the regression problem is when the output variable is a real value like dollar or weight or whatever. Okay, fine. So now from this, can you tell me which are the classification tasks? I've given 4 tasks out here. Which are the classification tasks out here? Which are the classification tasks out here? First one is finding the gender of a person by analyzing his writing style. Second is predict the price of a house based on floor area. I'm asking whether it is a class, among these, few are classification related tasks. Predict the price of a house based on floor area, the number of rooms.
One is a classification.
Your voice was too much. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
The first and third one are classification.
Yeah, very good, very good. Yeah, the one which I've highlighted. So the first one, finding the gender of a person by analyzing his writing style. So that is the classification. Then predict whether there will be abnormally heavy rainfall, yes or no. Okay, so that these two are classification tasks. Okay, so now just to understand the difference between classification and regression, can you tell me which is regression here? Which one of the following is a regression out here?
The first one, ma'am.
Anything else too?
Petroleum, third one.
Third one. First one is a regression. Third one, predict whether price of petroleum will increase or not, increase tomorrow. That is yes or no, right? That is not a regression. Okay, so first one, predicting the age of a person, because it's numerical output associated, so we call it as regression. Okay, right. So I hope you have understood what is the difference between a classification and a regression. Right, fine. So it's in my PPT moving up. Okay. So this comes under the umbrella of what is called a supervised learning. So we were discussing about the third data mining functionality called classification. Okay, so classification related concept called regression, both come under the umbrella of what is called your supervised learning. Okay, so next is what is called your cluster analysis. Cluster analysis, the fourth data mining function, nothing but your cluster analysis. So clustering, clustering is nothing but grouping. So clustering is nothing but grouping. Okay, so this come under the umbrella of what is called your unsupervised learning. Unsupervised learning. Okay, so what is clustering? Grouping. Okay, so let's say we have all these emojis out here. Okay, so we are grouping the smiley faces together or the cheerful faces. So these two will be grouped together. These two will be grouped together, and these three will be grouped together. So that grouping is what is called your clustering. Clustering them. Okay, so can you tell me which is an example for a unsupervised learning? Group the news articles based on text similarity, make clusters of books on similar topics, filtering out spam emails, segmenting the online customers based on their age group below 25 or above 25. What could be an example for an unsupervised learning? Right now, what we are discussing, the clustering. What is an example? Is it that difficult? Filtering out spam emails as yes or no is not a clustering technique. It's a classification. Even segmentation of online customers into two groups is also a classification. Whereas these two, from the word meanings itself, you can easily make out. So those two are grouping or making clusters. So those both belong to the category called your unsupervised learning or your clustering, grouping of things. Okay, grouping the news articles based on the text similarity or making clusters of books on similar topics in the library. Okay, so fine. So that's regarding your fourth data mining functionality called cluster analysis. Okay, so before we move on to the next one, nothing but your outlier analysis. So maybe I can give a brief with this regarding your classification. I mean, supervised learning and unsupervised learning. So I said supervised learning is all about classification and regression. So what basically you do here is, right now I'm giving only a brief. In second unit, we'll be, not in second unit, in third unit, we will be discussing about all these model construction, the various classification algorithms, and we will be working out examples for the same. Okay, so now just for you to understand, I'm just telling what the supervised learning is all about. Okay, so what you do is you analyze the training data sets. You can see here the training data. So training data sets means you are analyzing the class labels, class labels of the data sets. What is this class label? Class label. The training data set means data objects for which the class labels are known. Okay, so each have a value associated with it. Okay, so class label is nothing but the categorical attribute associated with the training sample. So that will be provided for a supervised learning. Okay, so the class label or the categorical attribute of each training sample will be provided for a supervised learning. Okay, so since the class label is being provided for learning, we call it as a supervised learning. Okay, or you can say the learning of the model is supervised. Okay, so then this is the model construction wherein you construct what is called a classifier. The same can be used for after training. It can be used for prediction also. Okay, so it can be used to, that is this diagram. Okay, it can be used to predict the class label of objects for which the class label is unknown. Okay, so that is previously unseen data or unknown data that can be predicted based on the training what it had. Okay, it can be predicted. Okay, so all these models, okay, it can be presented either as a rule or as a decision tree or neural network or whatever. Okay, so that's what your supervised learning is all about. Okay, so when it comes to unsupervised learning or clustering, so what we are basically doing is you're analyzing the data objects without consulting the class labels. Okay, so cluster analysis, I think we have it in the second part of the fourth unit or in the fifth unit. Okay, so there we'll discuss in detail. Okay, so now coming to the next data mining functionality. The next data mining functionality is nothing but your outlier analysis. Any idea what is an outlier analysis is? Outliers.
Ma'am, data which is like not in the pattern, ma'am, which is extreme, for example.
Yeah. What example?
Salary, if someone has extreme salary, like the CEO, it's an outlier, ma'am.
Yeah, correct. Something which don't fit into the group with the regular norms. Okay, so that is what is called an outlier. Outlier. In certain cases we treat it as a noise too. Okay, so outlier analysis. Outlier is nothing but a data object that does not comply with the general behavior of the data. For example, let's take say credit card. Okay, so the fraudulent usage of credit cards can be detected with data mining. So for example, the credit cards will be having associated with some customer. So the customer will be having some pattern of transaction. Okay, some pattern of transaction. So let's say he always have the habit of spending between 10,000 and 20,000. So that's being learned. And after some time, all of a sudden, if a transaction of 1 lakh is being detected, okay, so immediately the credit card user will get a message. That is basically to check whether the transaction was done by him or not. Or there are chances that it is a fraudulent transaction because he is a person who generally does the transaction in the range of 10,000 to 20,000. Okay, so fraudulent transactions or fraudulent usage of credit cards. Okay, detecting unusually large amounts of for a given number, for a given particular account number, or frequent usages. For example, maybe the particular person was using the credit card for past 5 years. He was hardly using it for 10-15 times. But then in this particular year, in a month itself, the credit card is being used for more than 15 times. So it can so happen that the credit card was stolen and it's in the hands of some other unauthorized person. So some fraud is being detected. Or the location, the credit card, but this particular card is always being used in India. All of a sudden, if it's being used somewhere abroad, immediately a notification comes to check whether it is a fraudulent transaction based on the location, the type of purchase, or the purchase frequency, or the type of transaction, all these things. Okay, so all these come under the category of what is called your outliers. Whatever I told just now regarding the credit card, those are all outliers as far as a credit card is concerned. So outlier analysis. Okay, so that is another popular area. Okay, so fraud detection, rare event analysis. Okay, so those are the 5 popular data mining functions: outlier analysis, cluster analysis, classification, association. So all these things you'll be learning in the different units, and generalization. Okay, so then we have, of course, what we have is, your class is till 2:10, na? Okay, let us finish this and take the attendance. Okay, so next, this is time and ordering, sequential patterns, trend and evolution analysis. Okay, so this, trend analysis, regression, then of course, sequential pattern mining, some sort of pattern, a sequence in the patterns being bought. First you buy a digital camera, then you buy an SD card, or some periodicity analysis, time interval. Okay, periodicity, what period of interval it is occurring. Okay, then let's say motifs and biological sequence analysis. This generally comes under the umbrella of what is called a bioinformatics. Bioinformatics, these motifs and all comes in protein sequencing. Bioinformatics, DNA sequencing and protein sequencing. Motif means it is nothing but a short recurring pattern in the DNA. Okay, so identifying such things come under this. All these come under bioinformatics, motifs and biological sequence analysis. Then similarity based analysis comes in pattern recognition and other things. Okay, so then mining data streams. What about this? Mining data streams, potentially infinite data streams. What about mining data streams? Okay, so trying to extract knowledge from continuous data records, which comes into the system. For example, in a factory, there are so many sensors. Let's say there are 1,000 sensors. Okay, and each sensor is capturing 10 KB of information every second. And you need to capture all these. Okay, so that is something like mining the data stream in real time, or in the shortest possible way. You try to capture them, and then that comes under the category what is called your stream mining, data mining, stream mining in data mining, stream mining, and which will help you to analyze large amounts of data in real time, especially the sensor data or the IoT related instruments data. So all those things, order, time varying, potentially infinite data streams. So next is structure and network analysis. All these come under the category of what is called your structure and network analysis, graph mining, network analysis. Social networks also can be put into this. Okay, then web mining. So these are the different types and categories. Okay, so next class we'll look into how to evaluate the knowledge. So before that, let me take the attendance. Hope all are listening. People are sleeping?
No,
Hitain?
no.
Hitain is sleeping?
No, ma'am.
No, okay. I could hear a horn.
But the room is close to the balcony.
Yeah. Okay, so quickly answer your attendance. Anirudh?
Present, ma'am.
Dharani? Okay. Ram, noted Dharani. Ram Harini?
Present, ma'am.
Kalyan Sundar? Let me stop the recording, please. 1 second. Why to record the attendance? Nishok, it will be stored in your drive.